Welcome to How to Read Our Financial Statements at First Congregational Church. Today we are going to look at the statement activities of the InReach team. You may be joining the outreach team or the stewardship team or the council, and your financials will look just like this, but with your budget and your dedicated funds. So let us begin. We have our statement of activities and our InReach mission spending plan, sometimes called our MSP, mission spending plan. That basically means our budget for the year that is set in December and is voted on in February at our annual financial meeting. Once it's voted on, we live out that budget for the calendar year. In InReach, you can see that they have different expense items in different categories. You can see here, you have care of members, you have Christian formation and education, you have worship, it kind of goes from one page to the next, and then your totals. So let's see how to read this. We want to wonder about our Christian education curriculum, one of the line items in our mission spending plan. And so last year, the actual amount in this column that was spent was 0. So in March of 2023, we didn't spend any money on the curriculum. Current month of March, $28.25 was spent on curriculum. Last year, our year to date, YTD, year to date, was 0. They hadn't spent any on that amount yet. And on our current year to date actual was $28.25. Here it shows us what our annual budget is, $800, and what percentage year to date, the percentage of the annual budget that we have spent. We've spent 3% or 3.5% of our total budget. And this, our year to date budget as percentage of the annual budget. So we are in March, so that is 25% of the year. Gives you sort of a sense of you're 25% of the year in, and we've only spent 3%. A lot of the spending for curriculum, as you can imagine, might happen in August, September, when the school year starts up. So not always does it align with every month being the same, but it'll all work out in the end. So that is how the line items are read all the way through the different line items. You go from last year's actual to compare to this year's actual, last year's total to this year's actual total, and then your budget, and then the percentages. Some of the line items in your budget may be things that you as a committee do not actually make a decision about. We're having conversation about where those should land, but for example, our historical documents live at the Center for Western Studies, and the fee for that is $500 each year. And so once a year, we write a check for $500 to the Center for Western Studies. That is the fee that they give us. So your team, when it comes budget time, just needs to make sure you leave that amount in your budget. All right, let's look to the very end. Here are our expense totals. And so again, you will have same month, last year actual was totaled at 561 for all the items in the budget. And current month actual right now is $2,076.55. When you receive your financials, you may go, that's a big difference. And then that might spark you to look back up and wonder where the money was spent and why that was a big difference. And then you have year to date last year and year to date actual. And then your annual budget, how much you have, the percentage of your annual budget, and the percentage that you kind of should be at if you're going the equal amount for each month. So you can see here that even though you spent a lot more in the actual month, your overall spending is still under what would be predicted to be spent in percentage wise at this point in the year. This last line item here, it can be ignored because it repeats what your expense is, but says it is a negative because in the mission spending plan, we don't deposit money in. It's just the budget, so the money is taken out. So this income expense, no money is put into those budget line items, only taken out of the budget line items. So, and that is the way the budget works. So that line just represents the fact that no money is going into the budget. All right, let us look at the dedicated funds. You will receive each month 2 financial reports, one for the mission spending plan, our budget, and one for dedicated accounts. You can see here, dedicated accounts. Dedicated accounts are separate from the budget. It is money that is above and beyond the money that we budget for the year. It's money that people have given to the church for a particular reason. We will look at some of those line items next, but what I want you to know is that that money is not accounted for in the budget because people gave the money. It stays in this account, kind of like the savings account for that line item. In the mission spending plan at the end of the year, if you have not spent the total amount of the budget, all of those amounts of money are wiped clear. So if you only spent $500 of a $1,000 line item, you don't get to carry over that $500 into the next year. It's just money that you did not spend in your budget. Whereas in the dedicated funds, that money rolls over every year and stays in that account until it is spent. So let's look at some examples. So we have Sunday school offerings that are taken and given. And so here you can see that you have an ending balance of $1,253.64 that can be spent on things that are appropriate to spend the Sunday school offerings on. And as a team, those decisions are made. You also have camperships for church camp, which are like money to support kids to go to camp. Here you have an ending balance of $3,800 about, and this money will get spent out when we support kids going to camp. And then when you have a fundraiser, like our noisy offering, that is where the money is put into the account so that that money was given for camp and the money is placed into the dedicated account, not into the mission spending plan. Here you have the line item to buy Bibles, Wednesday night activities, Moms Making Meals was an event that we used to have that is still on the books, and breakfast. And so, and flower fund, so on and so forth. So some of the accounts in here you can look for when you are looking for, oh, we're having a special event. Where could we find the money to maybe pay for that? And so you can start looking through these dedicated accounts. And Lisa can always help a team decide, would this event or this expense fit under one of these dedicated accounts to help us pay for said thing that we want to do. That is the main total. You can look here, I should go across. So it'll tell you your beginning balance, any credits for the month, any debits for the month, and then your year-to-date credits and year-to-date debits, and then your ending balance in the dedicated accounts. This is how each one of the teams have their financials laid out, with 2 reports given to you, dedicated accounts and mission spending plan. I hope that was helpful, and you can always ask questions to the office staff when it is confusing. Thanks for joining us.